Can we start? Okay. Shall we start? वटविटपि समीपे भूमिभागे निषन्नं सकलमुनिजनानां ज्ञानदातारमारात् त्रिभुवनगुरुमीशं दक्षिणामूर्तिदेवं जननमरणदुःखछेददक्षं नमामि चित्रं वडतटोर्मूले वृद्धा शिष्या गुरुर्युवा गुरोरस्तु मौनं व्याख्यानं शिष्यास्तु छिन्न संशयाः ओम नमः प्रणवार्ताय शुद्ध ज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशांताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः ओम देहं प्राणमपि अपीन्द्रियाण्यपि चलां बुद्धिं च शून्यं विदुः स्त्रीबालान्तजटोपमास्त्वहमिति भ्रान्ता वृषंवादिनः मायाशक्तिविलासकल्पित महाव्योमोहसंहारिणे तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये. So we have seen 4 shlokas in the last 9 sessions, and as I have been saying, quite different from generally Stotram means there will be a praise of the Lord. Dakshinamurty Stotram is all deep psychology and very deep thoughts on Vedanta. That's what we are seeing. So the first 3 shlokas establish this Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara connection, Aikya. How all are different facets of the same. That is what we saw in the first 3 shlokas. And the 4th shloka that we saw last class was about the objective world. How this world materializes. What do you mean by knowledge? In fact, there was a profound theory of perception. Jnana miti. That is what he uses the word there. What do you mean when I say I know something? What is this whole process of perception and how one has to transcend the ordinary levels of perception and go to much deeper. So that is what we saw in the last class in terms of the idea. How the subject perceives the object, which is the world. So how the object materializes in the minds of the subject. So that is what was discussed in the 4th shloka. Now 5th shloka is another dimension, and there are a few important things which comes out of the 5th shloka. So we will read it and details we will see. First of all, Shankaracharya in this shloka tries to provide an understanding of the reality behind this world of change. How do we make sense of this empirical world? Perception is one part. Now, in this, he focuses on what is called establishing the issue of who am I? This is a very important question. Who am I from empirical perspective? I exist. So therefore, who is this I and how do I find a reference to my I? So there are many theories. In fact, the Shad Darshanas, there are many Indian theories which have actually focused on this concept of who am I. So he has resolved some of the consistencies, reconciles to those with these 3-4 lines, he is able to do all that. As usual, every shloka is heavily loaded. So he is reconciling the apparent contradictions in other schools of thought when it comes to who am I? That kind of a question. Somehow we also find in this shloka why it is very important for us not to get trapped into this what is called Dehatmavada. I am the body. We should not get trapped into that kind of a thinking because it introduces complexity and it does not allow us to go forward in life. So that message is also in some ways it is coming. And there are other messages. There is a huge difference between materialism and spirituality. And in the conception of I, we will see it in some detail. Who am I? It could be a matter of materialism, which is what science has taken, because science does not recognize existence of spirit. That's why they are called materialists. Matter is very important. Whereas in Vedanta, matter is important, but it is of less important. The spirit is more important. That's why I call spiritual. I think those ideas also will come out of this shloka. So we will look at some of them. So as a preparatory to that, what are the views about who am I? We have again taken many things for granted as to who am I. We treat it at a very casual level. Whereas the first line he brings 6 different schools of thought. So I think let us understand the schools of thought before we go to the first line. The most dominant view for most of us, unless we are very evolved and we are very deeply, reflective, the most dominant view of who am I is body. Think about that. Because you ask anybody who are you, they will start with the name. The name is for the body, not for the soul. It's not at all for the soul. In fact, in Shankara TV, I don't know how it is coming or not, there used to be a very nice, a small piece, very nice. What happened, the episode goes like this. There is a king and the queen. Their child is dead. Small, young child, 1 or 2 years, I think. The child is, they show it through a puppet show or something. I keep seeing it. It used to come. The child is dead. So, in fact, after a lot of effort, this child is born. The child is dead. 2 years and the child is dead. So, the king is crestfallen, very unhappy. So, one great sage comes. So, the king says, you must, we want the child. So, the sage says, no. He tries to convince them, no. Life is, there are things in life. The king says, no, I know you have great powers, you should get this child back to us. So the sage says, all right. These are all the puppet, I am only adding the story to it. I only inferred all these from the story. So the sage uses his spiritual power and the child is back to life. So as the child has woken up, the sage says, these are your parents. The child says, what do you mean? Which father? Which mother? It ends, the story ends there. The point is this father, mother, and this is our conceptualization of I. It is very hard for me to define I without some parameters. First parameter is my name. The story says that name is attached to your body. The body falls, the name will go. That's why when the child is born again, it says, I don't know who are they? Because it has already transcended this tag and this compartment in which it comes like that in a subtle way. That message comes. Point I am saying is, notwithstanding all this, think for a moment, how do I describe who am I? It starts with the name, date of birth. Date of birth for what? We think it is my date of birth. I mean, in common parlance, that's what we say, my date of birth. And by that, what we say is the date of birth for this Stula Sharira and maybe the Sukshma Sharira also. Not for the Karana Sharira. There cannot be a date of birth for the soul. But in common terms, this is how we identify who am I. There is no other way. Otherwise, they are normal people, but this is our conceptualization of reality. That's the point I am coming to. So, person with some name, date of birth, some affiliation. I am so and so. I am, a professor here. This or that, something, right? I am related to so and so. He is my father. He is my brother. He is my sister. He is my neighbor. He is my friend. He is my spouse. She is my spouse, and he is my son, daughter. This is how we define. All these are reference to a set of events which are happening in this Janma, if you objectively think about it. But then we don't have a problem in that. We are not thinking on those directions. This is our normal understanding of who am I. Correct? Then we go on. If you want to continue, there are many dimensions. I'll put only a few dimensions. We can reflect these multiple dimensions. Another dimension is I am tall, I am fat complexion, I am fat, or I am etc. etc. All those are related to what? It relates to the Stula Sharira. If you think of it. But they are all concepts are all okay. But intrinsically that is what I am. Please understand. That is what I am. Intrinsically, whatever all these I can read and understand. But somewhere my conscience, everything is going around it. That's what it is. Or you can go one more dimension. I am coming, I am going, I am sitting, I am walking. All these are happening to this physical body. In Vedanta, all these are discussed in great level of detail. We have seen it in a few pieces here and there. I am only looking at it from a certain perspective today. So this is the most dominant view of who am I. Please think about it. Whatever any amount of you read, reflect, at the end of it, the bottom line is this. Who am I is revolving around it. So this is called Dehatmavada. The Atma is nothing but the Deha. Atma is equal to Deha. We are operating at that level. Looks, we don't have a conflict. We don't seem to have any inherent sort of conflict, which is fine. So this is one predominant view. Now, if people get a little more inquisitive, they want to understand a little bit of who am I, and then let's say they travel in that path a little bit more and so on, then they can graduate truly. They can graduate to the next level, which means they can very comfortably disown the body, which Ramana Maharishi was able to do. He was able to say, I don't need any anesthesia. You do whatever you want to do, cut this body and then fix it whichever way you want to fix. None of us in the room can say that. Because we haven't transcended. However much we read, the point I'm making is we are there. If people are able to really find a way to transcend and start searching a little bit more, then comes, no, I am not the body. The Vedanta says three things. I have told it several times in the past also. I am not the body. That is one. The body is not mine. The Panchabhutas, actually we have taken a lease. Coming to think of it, it's a leased. It's a leased accommodation in which the so-called I is sitting. Conceptually, that's what it is. So the body is not mine. And the body is not for me. These are the three thoughts in Vedanta which is being promoted. Maybe we'll conceptually understand it. I am not talking about conceptual understanding. Internalizing it means sometimes we will have to take certain decisions differently. Whether we will do it, I have no idea. But if people are able to get concerned about it and think more and more, then they can go to saying, no, it's not like that. Because they will say that when sense organs are not functioning, the body is inert. So, repeated thinking and reflecting on it, they may come to a conclusion, no, I am not the body, I am actually the sense organs. Because I am able to see, it's only because of the sense organs the body is sort of, active. So, therefore, how do I say it? I see, I hear, I smell. We also attach to that. So the smelling, hearing, and feeling of these are all things which are happening through sense organs. So if people say, no, I am not the body, but then they will still say, I am the one who is smelling, I am the one who is, tasting. Then we have graduated to the next level where we say Indriyatma. Saying Indriya is the Atma. That is, you say it's not a physical body but the Indriyas. That is the second school of thought. If people are really so uncomfortable with the first school of thought, most of us are not. But if people are so uncomfortable with the first school of thought, if they scratch and all that, they may go to the second layer, which they may say Indriyani. Now, if you go further, you may be little concerned about that also. Because you may say in sleep, in deep sleep, in Sushupti, Indriyas are not working. Body, nothing is working. Still, I am alive and, there is a sense of I. Because we got up and said, I had a good sleep. I don't know who this I we are talking. Because we never, associated with the Deha, with the Stula Sharira. We never associated with the Sukshma Sharira. Because Swapna, nothing is a deep sleep. But there was some I which woke up and said, I had a good sleep. I had a sound sleep yesterday. So if we keep thinking about this, so the I ought to be something different from this, then we can go to prana. We can say, because the prana was still going and coming. That is why I was able to get up. And I got up and then continued my vyavahara. And in one of the vyavahara, I used to say, I also had a good sleep. So that is another level of thinking. If people are willing to challenge that and all that, they can go to that level. So that is a prana. Or, I can say I am the mind. All these are the panchakoshas. In other ways, this is how the panchakoshas are coming. The Annamaya Kosha, the Pranamaya Kosha, Manonmaya Kosha, and Vijnanamaya Kosha. So Buddhists, when Buddha founded Buddhism, then slowly it became Mahayana and Hinayana. It split into two. One of the major differences between them is there was one bhikkhu, Buddha bhikshu, called Yogachara. He founded the Mahayana. He is the one who branched Mahayana, apparently. So he says, no, it is not prana and all that. Every moment the thoughts are changing. The reality is nothing but this thought, which is what is the echoing of the reality. So who am I is nothing but these thoughts which are actually moving from moment to moment. So that is called Kshanika Vijnana. So that is another school of thought. There is a Buddhist school of thought which says Kshanika Vijnana, which is the Mahayana school of Buddhism apparently. I mean, all these are preamble to the first line that is coming here. Then the other group of Buddhists, which has become very popular now, it's called Shunyavada. Big time. Because they are saying what? In deep sleep, in Sushupti, I got into nothingness. There was nothing. Absolute nothing. In Sushupti, I got into nothingness. That is what I am finally. Therefore, they argue what is called Shunyavada. So these are the 6 schools of thought which people are talking about. But the most common and the most prominent of all these 6 schools is number 1, which is Dehatmavada. I think for all practical purposes, most of us, whatever you may say, when I say I, it relates to the body. And this was promoted in a big way by what is called Charvakas. That is the biggest discussion. So I want to, because in Manasollasa, he talks about Charvakas quite a bit. Because that is the most prominent view for most of us. For others, you have to really turn your mind and move a little further and so on. So let us understand what are these Charvakas. Huh. 5. There are only 5 here, but Manas is also there. The Indriya is a Manas, so that way you can say 6, but he uses 5 only here in the first 5 months. Anyway, so this most dominant, most prominent, most practical, which all of us are, comes from this understanding: I am the body, because that's what it is. So if you travel on that dimension very strongly, you will get into a way of life. Your expression of reality and who am I will all go in a particular way. That is developed by what is called Charvakas. So the word Charvaka comes from Charu and Vak. Charu is nice, tasty. Walk is speech. Nice to hear. Pleasant to hear. Very nice to hear. They are called Charuvakas, or they are also called Lokayataha. Because Loka is world, Ayata is prevalent. This is most prevalent, so it is easy to explain it and get away with that. So this Charvaka philosophy is one big philosophy in India. They are the hardcore materialists. Don't think they are there today. They are there today. They are there. So this thought, I think, must come to. I mentioned it also. And there is this feeling that only world has become worse now, but things are better. I mean, they are all very simple thinking. I think Prakriti always exists. In Sanatana Dharma, the axis is from evil to the good. Everything is God. It is a continuum. It is a matter of evolutionary stage. So evil was there. I think when God created the world, and evil will be there at the time of Pralaya also. Although we always say, nowadays things have become bad, things are better. All these are very simpleton thinking. So there are some governing principles for Charvakas, which we need to understand, because maybe that is what a Dehatmavada will take us. If we associate ourselves with body as the reality, it's possibility we will go there. The first principle is Mokshasya Maranat Na Anyahat. What is moksha? Moksha is death. Death is liberation, that's all. Mokshasya Maranat Na Anyahat. There is nothing else other than dying is actually moksha. Which means of the four purusharthas, now you can knock off one purushartha. In Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, remove moksha now. Because according to them, death is moksha, so forget it. So you have three more now. So they say, Kama, Artha, Purusharthako. Dharma, Arma and all are not required. Kama and Artha, enjoy. Life is to enjoy. You have desires, fulfill the desires at any cost, for which you need some money. So this is one governing principle for Dehatma, Charvakas philosophy. Mokshasya maranat na anyaha. Therefore, Kamartho Purusharthako. Kama and Purusha, Artha are the only true Purusharthas. Because moksha is anyway not required, Dharma and all not required. What is the big deal? Okay. So, Kama Eka Eva Purushartha. So, in order to have that desire, only you need Artha. Artha is also now required only for Kama. So, now you can reduce all the four Purusharthas into one. You have to enjoy. You have to enjoy. For enjoying, find out what is the money required. If you don't have it, anyway, credit card is there. Don't worry. That's a nice shloka. I will come to it. Very nice shloka. I will come to it. Yeah. Rinam krutva gritam pitva ranam and all that. So, kamaha ekayeva purushartaha, kamayeva praninam karanam. Right? How this creation process? Oh, everything is a matter of simple sex. That's all. Nothing else. Because that's the only purushartha. There is nothing else. Life is to enjoy. Just enjoy and go. Nahi kalu Ishwara. There is nothing. They don't recognize God. You call them Nastikas, whatever you want to call. Nahi kalu Ishwara. There is nothing like big force and all. Don't waste your time on that. So, there is no karta. Ishvara is not there, then who is the doer? You just come and enjoy. Paraloka katha. How come you have this other loka and all that? Everything is here only. No God, there is no external force. By sex and desire, this whole creation happens. Come, enjoy Madi. That's all, go. That's his life. Life is very simple. It's a nice, that's a charvaka. It's very nice, no? Very pleasant. The ideas looks a very compelling idea. Easy kind of an idea. Pramanam ekam pratyaksham eva pramanam. Pramanam ekam pratyaksham. What I can see only I will believe. Anything which I cannot see, there is a lot of illogicality into it. I am not going to get into detailing all that. This is the governing principle. Pramanam eva pratyaksham. Pramanam ekam pratyaksham. Tattvam bhuta chatushtayam. So, pramanam is the only pratyaksha. So, they don't recognize space. Because space is only an idea. How can you see space? Fire you can see, air you can see, water you can see, earth you can see. Space is a concept. Subtlest of everything is space. Only when you put something space, suppose the whole world is demolished, what space? We have no idea. Space is relative to something. So, they have jettisoned that. So, they have only four elements now. It is only, air, water, fire and Prithvi. Space and all, because Pratyaksham Pramana. Space are all, you have to use your logic and deduce. That and all they don't believe in. So all these are from Manasollasa actually. These slokas are from Manasollasa. Paralokino abhavat. There is nothing like a paraloka because Pratyaksham Pramanam. Where is Paraloka? Please show me. What I can't see doesn't exist. So Paraloka abhava, there is no Paraloka possible. Therefore, Paralokinaha also is not there. So these Pitriloka and all, those are all your fiction of imagination. Don't base. The moment you take all of them, Dharmartha will go. The Dharma is coming only because you believe that if you do good things, you will be rewarded in some other next Janma or somewhere. If you do bad things, you will be punished. Now all that you are removed. That's why Dharma as Artha is not required. The Dharma as a Purushartha is not required. You can remove it. So this is all what they are talking about. So the life principle is very simple. If you put all of them together, this shloka is what or Divakarji was saying. Yavat jivet sukam jivet. As long as you are there, enjoy. Until you breathe your last, simply enjoy. Yavat jivet sukam jivet. Rinam krutva gritam pibet. Gritam pibet is drink ghee. What it means is, enjoy some costly things. But if you don't have money, don't worry. Rinam krutva. On credit. Take credit and enjoy. See how nicely this shloka I written some thousands of years back, I think. Which in a way also, we are able to see it now. Rinam krutva gritam pibet. Which means get the best things on credit. You don't have money now, don't worry. Just on credit. Basmi bhutas. See, this body is going to be anyway burnt. Basmi bhutasya dehasya punaragamanam kutaha, because I don't recognize karana sharira. I don't recognize another world. There is nothing like that. So once you burn it, everything is gone. So enjoy and then create some debt also. Once you are burnt, everything is over. Forget it. This is the whole idea behind this Charvakas. In fact, Gita chapter 16 you must read. It is called Devasuri Sampat. First 4 shlokas are about Deva Sampat, Devi Sampat. The rest are all Asuri Sampat. Must read, because that says what will happen if you get into this mode of living. If you take these principles as your principles of life, where will you go? That are the many shlokas. I brought some of them so that we will be able to connect it to what is being told in Gita. Look at this shloka, for example. Asatyam apratishtam te jagad ahuhu. These are all in Sandhi. Asatyam apratishtam te, those people, these are the Asuris. Jagad ahuhu. Ahuhu, they say this Jagat is all, there is no Satya. I mean, it is actually established in non-truth. Truth and all is a much deeper thing. I mean, you have to really make effort and all that. They are all not required. Asatyam apratishtitam Jagat ahuhu anishwaram. Not Ishwaram, anishwaram. No Ishwar. There is no governing Lord. Forget it. We just came by desire and all that. Kama, enjoy. Basmi kritasya bhutasya punaragamanam kutaha. Just go, that's all. Aparaspara sambhutam kim anyat kama heitukam. This world, how did it create? Paraspara sambandham, which happened because of kama. That's so they have simplified the whole creation process. Look at the creation process. Creation process is very simple. It is 2 people got together and they had desire. That's how the world is created. I mean, it's such a fickle idea actually. The whole creation is as simple as that. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, how the mind of Asuri Sampat. Then there are many shlokas. I have taken only a few of them just to connect it to the current discussion. Kamam ashritya dushpuram damba mana madanvitaha. So these people are all embodiment of kama, because desire is the only thing for which they want to live. So therefore they have damba. They have this, deceit, not conceit. It is deceit. Mana, mada. They are full of inebriated people. Because this is what I have to reach at any cost. I will reach. Damba mana madanvitaha Mohad grihitva sadgrahan pravartante ashuchivrataha. There's a avagraha there. Ashuchivrataha. So they are unclean people. The vrata is not shuchi, ashuchi, because not required. Just it's a simple principles of living, no dharma, nothing. So you get, create a rampage and go. Enjoy and then create a rampage and go. That kind of an approach to life is what Krishna says, describing all these in Bhagavad Gita chapter 16. Then what he says, Chintam aparimeyam cha pralayantam upashitaha. Because they have so much of desire to attain, they become very thoughtful. Because how do I achieve this desire? So aparimeyam chintam, endless. The desire is a fire which will keep on growing. If you don't ever come to this simple conclusion that this is my target, once I reach the target, everything's over. Your target will now go to the next level. This is the trap of the target. So desire doesn't mean if I fulfill the desire, end of the story. Your desire will be, I will start with the bicycle. Moment I got a bicycle, I'll start eyeing it on a bike that is going there. Moment I got a bike, I look at Maruti 800. Moment I got a Maruti 800, I look at maybe a sports car. Then I look at this SUV or something. This is life. That's what it is. So that means you have a lot of work to do now. So mohad grihitva sadgrahan pravartante ashuchi vrataha chintam aparimeyam cha. So it is unbounded. It's not aparimeya, unbounded. Chinta. Immense concerns until they die. Pralayantam upashitaha, because this is an endless list. They will keep on going. Okay? Kama upaboga paramaha. In Sandhi it became kamopa. A plus U becomes O. Kama upaboga paramaha. So they want to, gratification of lust is the only desire they have. That is the only main goal in their life. Life is only this much. Yetavad iti nischita. Life is simple. You have a set of desires. At any cost, you fulfill the desire. The trap there is, once you fulfill the desire, the next set of desires comes like another wave. So you get sucked into it. So that's what Krishna says about these people. Now, how do you fulfill these desires? That he says in the next shloka. He says, Asha Pasha Shataihi Baddha, hundreds of Asha and Pasha. They are bound by hundreds of Asha and Pasha. Asha Pasha Shatair Baddaha. Kama Krodha Parayanaha. Their Parayana is Kama and Krodha, because the moment you have desire, anger is the other side of the coin. In fact, the moment you have desire, Kama will come along with this Krodha and Bhiti. The desire will introduce a sense of fear. Will I get it or will I not get it? And if I don't get it, it turns into anger. So these are all, buy one, get one free deal. You take one, the other one is given to you automatically. It is that deal actually. That's why he says Kama Krodha. Kama, if you take, Krodha is given to you free. Kama Krodha Parayanaha. Ihante Kama Bogartam. Because they have to fulfill desire at any cost. How do you get the money? Anyayena Artha Sanchayan. So the way they earn money will become not Nyaya, it is Anyaya. So that's why Dharma as a Purushartha you have to jettison. Otherwise, this is an unsustainable idea. Look at people who get stuck into some major, corruption deals. Or in some ways, this is what it is. Somewhere that overpowers them, so they start cutting the ethical threads. One day they get cut. That is what, from a small retail to the wholesale corruption, is all like that only. It's only a magnitude that you can talk. Structure cannot be any different. So all these Krishna is saying in chapter 16, these are all coming for Charvakas. And a person who is Dehatma will be like that. Slowly that paradigm will take. That's why we need to be very, very discerning about who am I. That's why in Vedanta that is discussed in a fair amount of detail. So now let's go to the shloka, because I've been going on this for a while. Let me go to the shloka now. Now let us look at what the shloka is saying. First line says, Deham pranam api indriyani api chalam buddhim cha shunyam viduhu. So Viduhu, they know. Viduhu what? Ahamiti. It is coming in the second line. It says Tri Balanta Jadaupamastwamahamiti. Ahamiti is there. Ahamiti Viduhu. This is what I am. And how do you understand? He says there are five examples he gives here. Deham Ahamiti Viduhu. This is the Dehatmavada. Oh, I am the body. That is the first school of thought. Pranamapi. Pranam Ahamapi iti Viduhu. Some people think, no, they are little more discerning. They say it is not Deham, it is actually Pran. Indriyani. There are some people think, no, it is Indriyani. Indriyani api. Chalam Buddhim. Shanika Vidya. Chalam is this wavering, moment by moment thought process characterized Mahayana Buddhism got the Yogachara took into that kind of a path apparently. So it's called Shanika Vijnana. That is Chalam Buddhim. Chalam Buddhim Aham iti Viduhu. Atava Shunyam. It's a Shunyavada. The other Buddhism which says, what are you? You are nothing but nothingness. You are nothingness. So Shunyam Viduhu. So he says Aham iti Viduhu. Branta Brishambadinaha. I'll come to the previous part. They are Branta. Brantinaha. They are deluded. So, in Kerala they sell Branti. If you drink Branti, you become Branta. Brandy. If you wanted to, tell it in a nice, little more English, So Branta is those who are, they're, misaligned in their understanding of who am I. Brishambadina, but they steadfast argue. Not only that I got it wrong, but I actually thumb the desk and then argue this is what it is. I'm so obstinate about it. I argue it so strongly that this is what it is. So this is what he actually talks about. No, actually, if you look at the dividing between science and spirituality. Now you please go and ask a well-meaning scientist, who am I? There will be no spirit. Science cannot recognize spirit because science is a refined form of Charvaka. Pratyakshameva anumanam for Charvaka science. I have to see it in my experiment. Anything that can be explainable is only knowledge. Science has its own limitation, but scientists are like that. For them, Pratyakshameva anumanam. Upama, all those, when you say Pratyaksham, you can add those two also. Upama and all those also. That's all. Anything which can be explained. So if you ask, who am I? Scientists will give thousands and thousands and pages of chemicals and enzymes and all that. They will say who you are. Because that's how they can explain only with matter. There is no other way science can explain who am I. Please try. Finally, it will come to matter. If not anything, at least they will go to biochemistry and DNA. Matter only they will use. You are like your father, and that is because this chromosome signature went like this. It became like this. There is one signature which is changed. This, all that they will say. That's why they are materialism. For them, explaining who am I, what is fundamentally required is only matter. They don't even recognize the existence of sentience, the existence of spirit. Whereas in Vedanta, in the our Sanatana Dharma, what you find in Vedanta is who am I is expressed fundamentally with spirit. Matter is required only to the extent it is used for explaining. Fundamental explanation of who am I comes from spirit. That's why it's called spirituality, spiritualist. All those are coming because the axis from which you have to define who you are comes from spirit. In Bhagavad Gita, you have several shlokas in chapter 2. If you read, you will find that very clearly. So this is the dividing line. But they will go to any extent, origin of universe. You take anything. It's not only me. You can take Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. In Ishvara, science will just push it aside. That's allied to Charvaka. There is nothing like Ishvara. Now, of course, they are talking about God particle in the creation process and so on. But otherwise, the creation and who you are explained only with matter. Or you can explain only with physics, chemistry, and biology. A little bit of math you can use. Everything is only within that. So, and they will explain it so strongly. That's what it says. Brisham vadinaha. Then he brings Tri Balanta Jadopamastwama. he gives 4 examples, 4 upamas he gives. Stri, people have very wrongly understood this shloka. He simply translated. What it says is, like these four examples: Stri, Bala, not our Bala. Bala is a child. Bala, and then Anda, which is blind, and Jada. Like this, Branta Brishambhadinaha, this is what says. Now, this explanation, I will now take these 4. I've been reading, hearing. There is one lecture which I was very convincing to me. Paramarthananda's lecture on Dakshinamurty Stotram was very convincing to me. So I largely interpreting those 4. I was very convinced the way he interpreted. So I will explain that. So we'll go there now. So in Manasollasa, of course, there are arguments of how do you say all these schools of thought, or if you think a little bit more deeply, you will find there is a apparent conflict in defining I am so and so. Look at a couple of shlokas here. In fact, the argument of I am is the body is actually very well established in several ways. For example, you see what he is saying. Varnashrama vibhagascha देहेषु एव प्रतिष्ठितः. Okay, जाता कर्मादि संस्काराः देहस्य एव विधीयते. First argument is this 40 samskaras or 16 samskaras, namakarna, jatakarna, all those, all those they are saying up to death. Their argument is all these are only for the body. You can't do a jatakarma for the soul. You can't do a nama karma for a soul. You can. So they are saying the entire Dharma Shastra that you have written are all only body oriented. Therefore, you are the body. That is the argument. That is the argument. And what is this Varnashrama Dharma? These are all for the external appearances and acts that you are doing. So all these are related to the body. That is why Charvakas are saying body is who you are, because the whole body of knowledge that you have created are only for the body. So that is the first sloka. It says Varnashrama vibhagascha deheshu eva pratishtitah jata karmadi samskaraha dehasya eva vidiyate. Then the second argument, Shatanjiveti, if somebody takes a blessing from an elder, what he says, let you live for 100 years. Who is living? Body is living. That benediction that is being given is for the body again, not for the soul. Soul, according to Vedanta, it lives. It only sheds this body and takes some other body. Eternal. So, Shatanjiveti dehasya prayunjan iti asisham shubham. Shubham asisham. A divine blessing, a good blessing is given saying you live 100 years. That's for the body. That's why you are the body. That's the argument. Right? Iti prapancham charvakaha vanchayanti alpachetanaha. The charvakaha are alpachetanaha. They are little minded. They don't think much more challengingly, and they are deflecting the world by these convincing arguments, saying that is why body is what you are. For more practical purposes, we are deeply entrenched into it. That's the point. On a very vyavaharika sense, who am I is, because everything that we do is only for the body, actually speaking. So that's what he is saying. Then he goes on to refute. I am not bringing those. Then he says, there's a shloka which he refutes. And since I have already done, I am not bringing it. Indriyani ne me santi Mukaha asmi, badiraha asmi aham. So he takes another example. He says Indriya cannot be I. How do you say? Because somebody may say I am a mukaha, I can't speak. One Indriya is gone. He is a dumb. Or I am a badiraha. Right? He says I am deaf, I can't hear. Right? Then he says, It Yahuhu, people are saying like that because there is a person who is deaf, there is a person who is dumb. So he says, such people are living. Just because Indriyas, 1 or 2 Indriyas went, did they disappear or, what happened to them? He is asking. He says, Iti ahuhu indriyehi hinaha. People without Indriyas. Because there are 1 or 2 people, 2, 3 Indriyas are also not there. Indriyehi hinaha janaha Kim te niratmakaha? Are they without an Atma? No, they have their own sense of I. Point is, a person who cannot see, his sense of I is not cut by 1/5 because 1 out of I is gone. Or a person who cannot speak, because one Indriya is gone, it doesn't mean his I-ness is now 80%. His I-ness will be as 100% as yours and mine. So he makes that argument and says, so Indriya cannot be I, forget it. That's not what it is. And he goes on. I have skipped a few shlokas. Then he says, if you argue, no, all these prana, indriya, deha, all these together makes what you are. If you make that argument. No, all these put together is actually you. Then he says, Yesham Sangata Atma, if you chet, if the coming together of all of them is what Atma, if you say like that, right? Ekadeshe Pratak Krite, if you remove one out of these whole things, it can be removed. One out of these five can be removed. In many, there are examples which we can think of in your life. One out of these five can be removed. So he says, Ekadeshe Pratak Krite, Na Chaitanyam Prasujyate. Your Chaitanya does not stop. It works only. Anyway, it works. Whereas if you say it is a combination of all of them, you think about it. If something works with a combination of five, if you remove one, it should come to a grinding halt. Because they are interconnected, no? So that's the argument he is making. So he says there are people who could be actually in a coma, which means you have actually taken one part of these five. Manas, Buddhi, Indriyas are all out. But my is still there. People are in a coma for years. So he says if one is removed, it should come to a grinding halt. It is not coming to a grinding halt. So saying this is a combination of all of these five is also not correct. So he establishes all these as explanation to that first line. Some shlokas are there. Okay, now we'll come to these three. What is the tatparya of using four examples? One is three, another is bala, another is andaha, and the jada. Now, the point he is making is basically it is being used to actually explain a few things. And the argument he is making is between the two genders in majority. What he says is ladies are far more emotional. In a majority of the situation, the ladies are far more emotional. And moment you are a little more emotional, then to that extent, there is a certain, because the emotion can come in the way of a certain objective kind of a thing. So there are two arguments here. Argument he is making is, he says three is not necessarily a lady. He is saying a person who can be a male but has an emotionally charged person. That is the way we have to understand this correct meaning of this three. Although a number of these are seen generally because Prakriti is like that. So he says when you have a constrained or a trapped intellect, then your mind can get a little distracted. So to that extent, sometimes you may miss the essence of understanding the true nature. So that's why he uses the first words three as an example. When you are emotionally dominated, sometimes you can miss out the truth that may be evident in front of you. That is why he uses that kind of an example as the first example. And then he says balaha or bala, whatever, balaha, it is actually, they are all in sandhi. So basically, the child is an undeveloped intellect. The only thing is, the child can develop the intellect later. But as a child, its intellect is not fully developed, so it will not be able to see through this, that I am not the body, I am more than the body. It can miss that, because the intellect is yet to develop. So that is the second example he brings by using the word bala, balaha. Then he uses andaha. See, andaha is somebody who cannot see. Now, what is the tatparya here? If I have to make sense of something, in the narrow sense of, then I have to see. If I am not able to see, I use a specs, I need some upakarana. Suppose if it is a little impaired, then I need a certain help. Braille is required if he is completely a blind person. In other words, what he is saying is for such people who don't have, so what is the message here? Correct knowledge, correct perception if you want, you should have a power of vision. I am still in the eye example only, upama only. Upameya will go. You need the correct organs and correct this thing. If the organs are deficient, then you need an instrument, you need a upakarana. With that, then you'll get the perception right. So he says in the same way, if the intellect is not, able to grasp, how do I understand I am not the body? It is not by just talking about it. So he says the instrument for us is actually Shastric knowledge. The Shastric knowledge, repeated understanding of Shastric knowledge, which we get from a guru. That's why they say don't read. Reading, we'll never get that. We'll be intellectually very sound. We'll miss the essence of it. So the Shastric knowledge, lack of Shastric knowledge will also take you away. So to give that, he uses the upama of Anda, where without an instrument you don't get the right perception. Here he talks about the instrument as correct Shastric knowledge, which we should be able to get from a guru. So that is the third example, in the Andaha. Then Jadaha. Either the intellect is what the Jada is one which doesn't have chit. Jadaha is something which is devoid of intellect, or the intellect is trapped. See, the difference between a Bala and a Jada is the Bala's intellect will grow. When the child grows, the intellect will grow, and then it can. Whereas Jada, there is, the wood cannot, self-actualize. There is no self there to self-actualize. The speaker cannot self-actualize because they are Jada. So he says people can be at different stages of where their intellect is trapped. And if they are trapped in such kind of disturbances, they will be trapped in that. They will not see through the truth. They will attach themselves to who am I, to any of those which are the five which he put in the first line. So that is how he brings all these things. So let me go to the shloka now. So that is what the first two shlokas. So the first two shlokas, very succinctly, Shankaracharya brings in this shloka for us to think that who am I is not a very casual question, which we have taken it very casually. Who am I is not a very casual question, because if you take it very casually, we tend to associate ourselves with the body plane. If you associate yourself with the body plane, you can get trapped. So that is the message he says. He says, only a person who is evolved, who is untrapped from these various stages of the intellect, will understand. That is what is coming in the third line. Maya Shakti Vilasa Kalpita. It's a single word. Maya Shakti Vilasa Kalpita Maha Vyomoha Samharine. One person who has destroyed Samharam. A person who has destroyed all these deluded understanding, which, and the Maha Vyomoha, it is the Moha which is present all over because of this deluding power of Maya. A person who has been able to destroy all of them, to him I offer my worship. He is none other than my Guru. He is none other than Dakshinamurty, to whom I offer my worship. So that's how the shloka is coming. So the last two lines are used only to talk the counterpoint of the first two lines. So the first two lines of shloka 5 forces us to think about the issue of who am I. That is the tatparya which he brings in this shloka. It cannot be, we have, in a simplistic assumption, we are attaching ourselves to the body. So he says you need to think very clearly. I think that's a major message that comes. So I end with some of those, which are all in several places. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, I think. The last chapter talks about this Virochana and Indra. I mentioned it a few times earlier also. Virochana and Indra went to Prajapati. Wanted to know who am I? They went to Prajapati. Prajapati asked them to be in the Gurukula for 24 years. 24 years they are there. And then waiting for the instruction. So one day Indra calls, tomorrow you come, dressed very well you come. Best attire, best things you dress up and come. So both Indra and Virochana come like that. Prajapati takes them to a crystal clear water lake and see, this is who you ask, who am I? See who you are. So both of them see themselves, so beautifully decorated. That's what they say. They see the Pratibimba, no? So both of them are happy now. They understood who am I. Nothing but the body with all its nice alankaras. So both of them said, okay, thank you, and then went. Virochana was happy, he went. Whereas Indra started thinking, no, there's a lot of contradiction. Doesn't seem to work because it shrinks, one day it falls. How can I disappear? Very thought I can disappear is so disquieting to me. And this goes through so much of changes, so he comes back. Virochana never came back. Virochana or Dehatma Buddhi. Whereas Indra came back, story goes on like that, again 24 years. So like that, 4 times 24 years, 96 years he was there, all that story is there. So that story reminds us that Dehatma Buddhi is a very low level, first level understanding of who am I. Through this shloka, Shankaracharya is asking us, challenge that and understand for yourself, is there any other conception of myself as a reality? So that's what he is bringing. So the Vedantic proclamation is, I am not the body, naham deham, koham soham. So that is the nice, this thing. Naham deham, I am not the deha. Koham, kahaham, sahaham, soham. So that's a nice thing like that. Naham deham, koham soham. So that's what Vedantic thing asks us to challenge and take it as not a knowledge, understand it as experience and anubhava. I am not the body is not mine, the body is not for me. So identifying the body with this body consciousness brings this entire body mind intellect complex into play, and that's what we are going through. It creates its own sort of challenges which gives enormous opportunities for the mind to get distracted and so on. And this is precisely why I want to quote one sloka from Bhagavad Gita and stop it. And there are a lot of them. I will go to next class, but I will talk about this Bhagavad Gita shloka. That is why in chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita, in Bhakti Yoga, this is a nice shloka. He says, Kleshaha adhikataraha tesham avyakta sakta chetasam. Arjuna asked, how should I do? In chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita, the first question he asked was, do I do, Saguna Upasana and Nirguna Upasana? How should I do? Should I look at physical forms and then contemplate on you, or should I go for Nirguna? So the answer he gives in the fifth shloka. He says, Kleshaha adhikataraha. The problems are too many. For what? Tesham. For such people. Avyakta chetasam. Those who want to do contemplate on formlessness, it's not easy. Because I am body is very physical. We are so form oriented. You have to evaporate into a formlessness. Only then you can evaporate intellectually and experientially into, not physically. That's why he says, Avyakta hi gatir dukkha. The path of Nirguna Upasana is very difficult. Avyakta hi gatihi dukkha. For whom? Dehavadbhiravayate. Dehavadbhihi avapyate. Those who are very body conscious. Think I am the body, embodied. They are very much thinking I am the physical body. Don't do in Nirguna Upasana and all that. You will actually find it very difficult. You should do only Saguna. Slowly you will actually find that you have to go to that state of understanding there is the truth is beyond the names and forms and physicalities. That's why he brings that shloka. So I think in fifth shloka of Dakshinamurty Stotram, this is the point Shankaracharya is bringing. Question, who am I? There are different schools of thought. I think we must go through our own journey to understand who am I, because there lies our journey in our self-evolution also. I think I will stop here. Next 2 weeks, no class. Both the weeks I am in Delhi actually. Some work. These guys always schedule a Monday meeting for me, I think. So next 2 weeks we will not have a class. We will meet only on August 8th. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. See, Sunday may be a